Hey everyone, it's Mojaxx back in the DJcity UK lab. Today we are looking at the Reloop Mixon 4. Now, at first glance, this might look like just yet another Serato DJ controller, and you know, for better or for worse, they have really got kind of standardized in recent years. You've got the same effects layout all the time. You've got very similar pad modes on all of these Serato DJ controllers, and that is because that is what works best with the software. So it's understandable, but also it can get a little bit boring at times. But Reloop have taken this in a slightly different direction as well. This is also compatible with Algorithm's DJ software, DJ Pro or DJ2, and that means you can actually use the Mixon without a laptop. You can use it with a tablet, like an iPad, or even with your phone or an Android tablet. It's got an OTG cable there as well. So it is not just your standard Serato DJ controller. There is a bit more to talk about here. Let's get to it. The Mixon 4 is an all-in-one controller which has a street price of around about $800 in the US. That's a very crowded part of the market with lots of competing options, but the Mixon really does have a few things which set it apart. Firstly, whilst using the unit will unlock the full version of Serato DJ, Reloop also have mappings available for Traktor, and it's supported by Virtual DJ. So along with the DJ Pro support, you have a controller which works with a ton of different software. Construction is mostly plastic, but it feels sturdy enough, with no particular points of concern in my testing at gigs or in the lab. One benefit of the build is that the Mixon 4 is nice and light, despite its pretty large size. This is a very portable unit. I love how nicely spaced out everything is. There's lots of room between the different controls to work without ever feeling cramped, and the pads and transport controls are a good large size, easy to hit quickly. One thing I don't like so much is the mirrored symmetrical layout with the cue and play buttons for both decks on the outside of the controller. It just never feels quite natural to me, and although I do accept it's a personal taste thing, I can't particularly fault Reloop for making that choice. It's just something to be aware of. Serato DJ control over 4 decks is all present and correct as you would expect, including the pitch play feature, although you'll need the pitch and time plugin to enable that. The pads feel very good in use and they aren't crazy squishy, but they are proper pads and not buttons. Auto loops are a bit of a mixed bag. It's great that you can choose different beat loop lengths with an encoder, and you have an LED display to show you which length is selected. But to turn the loop on or off, you have to push the dedicated auto loop button below it. They haven't used a push encoder. This drove me mad when playing out on the Mixon 4, as I spent the whole night trying to activate loops with the encoder knob and failing to do so. The jog wheels are of the metal-topped capacitive type and worked well enough in a variety of environments. They've got a good amount of resistance and feel accurate for scratching. The low profile of them can make pitch bending a little bit fiddly at times, but it's easy enough to adapt to. The VU meters are nice and clear, and there are a few nice little Reloop touches like the LED which illuminates when you turn the filters. I like the ability to control an effect and the filter together with one knob. That offers a lot of creative possibilities. Crossfader is okay, nothing much to write home about, but does the job, and the stiffer up faders have a good feel. The pitch faders are definitely a bit short for my taste. They're pretty high resolution, so accuracy isn't compromised too much, but I'd still prefer longer ones for comfortable manual mixing. The rest of the Mixon 4 is pretty standard Serato fare in terms of the layout and performance you'd expect from a controller. And that's the one thing which is important to understand about the Mixon 4. It is a controller and controller only. You've only got one external input, a mic on the front with a level control. There's no standalone mixer in here, so if you're looking for DVS inputs or even just an aux to run in your phone for emergencies, you'll need to look elsewhere. Around the back you do have a master output on XLRs and RCAs and a separate booth output on TRS jacks, which is good, but it's worth noting that with Serato DJ you're at the mercy of the software's internal limiter. Need a bit of a boost on a quiet system? You'd better be running into a submixer because there really is a hard ceiling on the Mixon 4. The output isn't notably quiet, it's healthy enough, but it is restricted in the way that a standalone mixer section always isn't. Sound quality is decent though, with a nice clean sounding audio interface. The Mixon does require its power supply at all times, it can't be bus powered, and it's important to note that you'll definitely need the original included adapter as well. My demo unit arrived without one, and the generic replacement that I used instead gave me some earth issues with iOS devices, causing problems with the jog wheels which were otherwise flawless. Speaking of iOS, Algorithm's DJ apps on that platform, so DJ2 and DJ Pro, do integrate just as tightly with the Mixon 4 as Serato DJ does, even down to the pitch play feature, which I did not expect to see. You have the slot at the back of the controller to stand your tablet or phone in, which fits everything right up to the 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and a special lightning cable to connect it.
It will also charge your device, even a big iPad, and it will work with Android tablets via the included OTG cable, but I don't have any Android devices to test that with. There's no way to smoothly transition between laptop and a tablet. The Mixon 4 is all or nothing. For what it's worth, I found that connecting an iOS device generally disconnected Serato DJ, but not the other way round. But yeah, it works really well, even with a phone. One thing to note is that even though it's not licensed for public performance, DJ Pro will let you play music from Spotify if you have a paid subscription to that service. This could make the Mixon 4 an absolutely killer setup for house parties, with the full Spotify catalogue available to you on 4 decks, and it performs great. With a decent internet connection, you'd be hard pushed to tell the difference between playing off Spotify and off local files. I'm still not seeing a whole lot of adoption of iOS devices for DJing in the wild. I've maybe seen one DJ spinning with an iPad, but if it's an idea that appeals to you, the Mixon 4 is probably the most comfortable, professional feeling way to do it.
So there you go, my take on the Reloop Mixon 4. You know, there's a lot to like about this thing. I really do dig the form factor. It feels great. It's very nicely spaced out. You never feel cramped on here. Likewise, you've got the big pads, very responsive, and the large controls for your transport as well. I'll never be down with the mirror image layout, but you know, half the industry does it that way, half the industry does it the other way. So it's my problem more than Reloop's. You know, that's just how it is a lot of the time. The short pitch faders, I would like to see those being a little bit longer. They're by no means the worst that I've used. You know, they are pretty accurate, but I'd always like to see a nice big long throw pitch on there if possible. And the jog wheels as well. Yeah, nice and responsive. They've got a good feel to them. I've not had any issues with, you know, ghost touching or anything like that. All feels very smooth in use in the club. So yeah, that all works nicely. The big restriction, of course, with the Mixon 4 is that it is just a controller. It's not a standalone mixer. You can't use it as a hub of a DVS setup or anything like that. This is a controller through and through. There's nothing else to it. It is just a controller. Now, it works very well as a controller with DJ, DJ Pro, and with Serato DJ. All works very nicely. The integration is perfect, but that is the restriction. It's just a controller. And there are some other products on the market in this kind of price range which are more than just a controller. They will do multiple USBs. They will use, you know, they will let you plug in turntables and that kind of thing. Not everything does, you know, some do, some don't. So it really depends on your priorities. If using iOS or Android as your main music source is something that appeals to you, this is pretty much the only one in the price range that will do it. And that does work extremely well. You know, if you're rocking with an iPad mini or with just your phone, you know, a modern phone, you can have 128 gig of storage on there or whatever, loads of music, enough to do a long house party. And that's a very appealing kind of idea to me. So I like that idea. As it stands, it's in a very competitive place in the market. $800, there's a lot of other stuff out there around that price offering different priorities. And if the Mixon 4 is going to work for you, then I can definitely recommend it. You know, the build is good, the sound is good, the actual way it feels with software is great. It's just one of those, you know, is this going to be the right one for you? Only you can really answer that. Thank you for watching today. Make sure you subscribe for all our future tips, tricks and product reviews. I'll see you soon.